Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create this project. Now the way to use these videos is to stop them as I go along so that you can copy what I'm doing and learn from that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of my project to Cloning Cat. Next thing I'm going to do is I want to have my cats be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to hit this shrink tool here, touch the cat a few times, and there's my smaller cat. Now the way Scratch works is this is my main character, and there's kind of one main guy, or gal. But what I want to do is I want to create clones of this person. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to create clones of this person. I also want to create a birth circle. So I'm going to create a new sprite. Here we go. New sprite. I'm going to paint a picture of my new sprite. And this is going to be my birth circle. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the computer knows where the center of my birth circle is. So I'm going to adjust that right here. And that's perfect. And now I'm going to call this, I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to click on the I to rename it, and I'm going to change it to birth circle. That's great. And I'm going to rename this from sprite1 to cat. All right. So there are a few things that I want to have happen in my program. First, I want to drag the birth circle to the center. There's my birth circle right in the center. Now I'm going to go back to cats. I want to create some variables. My first variable, and I'm going to make a mistake on purpose. My first variable is going to be age of cat. And notice that I leave this selected for all sprites. This is the mistake that I'm making. I'm making it on purpose. And now I'm going to make another variable called longevity of cat for all sprites. Again, I'm making a mistake here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this event. So when the green flag is clicked, when I actually start the program, the first thing I want to do is I want to hide my main cat because I'm going to create clones. And clones are a very powerful tool in Scratch. It's kind of an introduction to object-oriented programming, but which we'll talk about in class. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, go ahead and hide this guy. All right. Then what I'd like to have happen is I would like to forever do something. Forever, what I'd like to do is make clones of myself. And I'm going to go to Control for that, and I'm going to make a clone, create a clone of myself. Now, if I just leave it like this, it's going to create a gazillion of them instantly. So I better put some delay in here before it makes a new clone. And I'm going to say, wait 1 second. But I actually don't want it to just be 1 second. I want it to be a random number of seconds. So in operators, I'm going to pick random amount of seconds. And I'm going to say I want to pick a new cat to show up every 1 to 3 seconds. All right, so far, so good. Let's see what happens when it runs. Nothing. Why? Because when the clones show up, they're actually hidden. So clones are being created, but they're hidden. So I need to do some more work here, which is when I start as a clone, I want to go ahead and show. So I want to show up. So when I start as a clone, I want to show. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit this. And it looks like there's just one cat created. But actually, the truth of the matter is there are lots of cats being created. They're just all going on top of each other. So there are lots of clones being created, which I can drag around. But I want to do something a little bit more clever than just have a cat show up in this one spot. All right, so the next thing I want to do, I'm going to hit stop again, and all those clones will disappear. When I start as a clone, before I show up, I want to go somewhere. So I'm going to go to Motion, and I'm going to say go to Birth Circle, because that's where I want to be born. Go to Birth Circle, then show up. And if I hit this, now you'll see that all of them are being born in the birth circle, but they're still clones. Oops, I dragged the wrong thing. Oh, that's funny. When I dragged the birth circle, the cats showed up in the new birth circle. All right, so the cats are showing up in the new birth circle, which is great, but I don't want that. I want the cats actually to be moving around. So let's go back to our cat here. When I start as a clone, first thing I'm going to do, I've got to play with my data. I'm going to set my longevity. I'm going to say, how long should I live? And I'm going to choose a random number between, let's say, 5 and 20. Okay, so I'm going to live between 5 and 20. 5 and 20 what? We don't know. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my age to 0. So this is how old I am. And now I'm going to do something forever. And I am going to increase my age. So I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to change, important that you choose change here, change the age, changing my variable, change the age of my cat by 1, and control wait 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to keep aging here. And then I also want to say my age. I want to say how old I am. So I'm going to talk, and I'm going to say my age. I'm not going to say hello. I'm going to actually do a cool operator here. I'm going to join some words together. So I'm going to say the age of cat, and then I want a dash, or yeah, that thing. So it's kind of like a fraction. My age and then my longevity. So I'm going to do another operator. I'm going to join something else. So I've got two joins here. My first join is the age of cat and then this slash, and my second join is the first join and my longevity. My longevity of cat. Right. So I'm constantly going to be saying that. So I'm going to say all this stuff, right? And I also want to be moving. So I'm going to choose a random direction. So turn. I guess I should do this when I'm born. But even before I show up, I should choose an angle that I want to move at. And I'm going to pick an angle between 1 and 360. And I'm going to motion move 1 step. All right, so we don't have anybody dying yet, but we should have some interesting things going on here. Okay, so cats show up. Okay, so what's going on here? They're creating a clone of myself between 1 and 3 seconds. Let's slow this down a little bit. Let's say it's 3 to 10 seconds. So he's 1 of 7, 2 of 7, 3 of 7, 6 of 7. Ooh. Okay, let's make them move a little bit more. Let's make them move 5 steps so we can separate them out a little bit. Did you notice that this guy, when he was born, had a longevity of 6, and now the longevity is changing. They all have the same longevity as 10. Now everyone has the same longevity as 11. Everybody, when they're born, has this weird longevity. They're changing. Everybody's longevity is changing to the new cat. As soon as a new cat shows up, everybody's longevity changes. That is weird. And here's why it's happening. When we created the variables, I told you that I was on purpose making a mistake. So when you create a variable, you need to decide whether it's a global variable or a local variable, whether it's a variable just for the clone. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these variables, and I'm going to do that by hitting, how do I do that? I hit Option and Shift. I'm going to delete that variable, and I'm going to hit Option and Shift and delete this variable. And now I'm going to make new variables again, and I'm going to name them the same as I did before, so age of cat. But this time I'm going to say for this sprite only. So every time a new cat is created, he gets his own age, just like each of you has your own age. And I'm going to create a new variable, which is longevity of cat. And it's for this sprite only. And now I've got one variable for each cat. Okay, each cat gets his own variable. Now, one of the things I did notice, by the way, is that when you put spaces in your variable names, it slows things down a lot. So I'm going to change that too. So I'm going to get rid of these again. Let's see, no, it is Option Shift, delete my variable. Option Shift, delete variable. Okay, so I'm going to make new variables. So age for this sprite only, and I'm going to make a variable called longevity. how long something lives for this sprite only. Okay, good. Now they're both local variables. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to longevity, and I'm going to change this to age, okay? And change the age of cat by, oh, that should be below the line. That's weird. Yeah, it's above a line. So I think I did not create a local variable when I did this. Delete variable, okay. Make a variable, age for this sprite only, please. Okay, and there we go. All right, so set age to 0, change age by 1, and then join age out of longevity. Okay, this should work a little bit differently now. Let's see what happens. 1 of 8, 2 of 8, 3 of 8, 4 of 8, 5 of 8. See another guy show up. His longevity is 8. Do you notice that his longevity did not change? It's still 8. His longevity is 17. Okay? The next guy is going to have, or gal, is going to have a different longevity. 17. Let's check out the third one. Or fourth one, I should say. Okay, that one has 19. Good. So everybody has their own variable, and that's the difference between a global variable and a local variable. There's another thing I noticed, that the cats are all, not only are they going different directions, but they're pointing different directions. I don't like that style. It's easier for me to see what's going on if they're all pointing the same way. So I just changed this to a dot here, and now they're all pointing the same way. All right, good. And they're running around. Everything is perfect, exactly what I was hoping. But we do have a problem. Our problem is that no one's dying. So we better go ahead and make sure they die. So I'm going to go ahead and create a function. This is a very, very cool feature of Scratch. And many programming languages, it allows you to have a function. Let's just see how much time I have left in my recording. Good, 3 more minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and create a function by clicking this more blocks, and I'm going to make a block, and my new function is going to be die and fade. Actually, it's really fade and die. Fade and die. Okay, so here's my new function, and I'm going to define it. Here's what fade and die should do. First thing it should do is it's going to repeat 10 times, and or maybe 20 times. And it is going to change the ghost effect. Change ghost effect, which means fade out, by 5. 5 times 20 is 100, so at the end of this, it's going to be completely gone. And then I'm going to delete this clone. So this is what fade and die does. Okay, good. So it waits here, it does all these things. Now I better check to see if I should die. So I'm going to put in an if statement. Control if my age is greater than my longevity, if my age is greater than longevity, then fade and die. All right, let's go ahead and run this thing, see what happens. He's going to die at the count of 7, hopefully 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there he goes. All right, and that is pretty much all. My program's a little bit different. I've got some sounds, some other things, but this is a great program. If you can write this program, you are in great shape. You've learned how to clone. You've learned how to create local variables. You've learned a lot with this program, actually. All right, cool. Cloning cat, and then I'm going to save my work.